Cameron, whom he later married. The prosecution manifestly an effort to get Johnson, who at the time was the most famous African-American. 1944, Charlie Chaplin, prosecuted for having an affair with actress Joan Barry. Prosecution again provided cover for a politically motivated effort to drive Chaplin out of the country. Now, the significance, Wayne Barrett, of these laws and the negotiation that's taking place behind closed doors right now at Eliot Spitzer's house. You've got the laws, the possibility of indictment, fierce Republican federal prosecutors right now, and you've got a governor who, if he were just to resign, he could then be indicted. But if he makes it a package, maybe all they want is to get him out of office.
I doubt that that's all they want. I think they want to plead to something. They have a problem, though. They have 9 other Johns that are in this case, and who knows who...
Number 1 through 8, yes, and then 10.
Right, and who knows who they are and what, you know, whether or not... I mean, I have no doubt in my own mind that had the same situation developed, where there were unusual financial transactions, and a Republican governor in the Bush administration were in precisely the same set of circumstances, that we'd have never seen the light. This case would have never seen the light of day. I have really no doubt in my mind.
Michael Mukasey is the Attorney General who comes from New York.
Now, you started out talking about Giuliani, and I'm telling you, I think this is in some ways a very relevant Giuliani story. When Michael Mukasey recused himself as a federal judge on 5 or 6 cases, saying he was too close to Rudy Giuliani, and Rudy Giuliani had an interest in this. Well, there's all kinds of speculation now that Rudy Giuliani is going to run for governor of New York. I don't know whether or not Michael Mukasey should be handling this case, and clearly he is personally involved in this case. The hatred for Eliot Spitzer within the inner circle of Rudy Giuliani is profound. Ken Langone, who was involved in the investigation of the stock exchange, was the finance chair of Rudy Giuliani's campaigns. And Jack Welch, the head of GE, says that Eliot Spitzer came up to him at the DNC and said, "Your friend Ken Langone, I'm going to put a spike through his heart." And Ken Langone hates. He said yesterday something about that no hellfire is good enough for Eliot Spitzer. Well, now that's just one example. The inner circle of the people around Rudy Giuliani hate Eliot Spitzer, and Michael Mukasey is part of that inner circle. I think he should have recused himself a long time ago from this investigation. I don't think he should be involved in it. And you know, I don't think Eliot Spitzer is likely to get too fair a shake, even in these circumstances, from this Justice Department.
Well, Eliot Spitzer knew all this.
Well, the Wall Street Journal was reporting that the biggest celebrations were on Wall Street as soon as the news broke, and in terms of the reaction and the hatred that many of the CEOs in New York have toward
That's
Spitzer.
why this is such incredibly reckless conduct. If you're going to take on these kinds of forces, I mean, show a little discretion.
And what Eliot Spitzer was doing on Monday, when they talk about the business, I referred to this yesterday, Democracy Now! Was broadcasting from Albany, because there was a huge reproductive health summit put on by family planning advocates. 1,000 reproductive rights advocates, legislators were there to really talk about pushing forward on an Eliot Spitzer bill that is perhaps the most progressive abortion rights bill in the country. Ironically, yesterday was Catholic Church Lobby Day in Albany. On Monday, it was Reproductive Rights Day in Albany. And interestingly, David Paterson, who could become the first black governor of New York, the first blind governor in the country, spoke also, the lieutenant governor, and talked about being a Catholic who was pro-choice. Clearly, he will take on this issue in as fierce a way as Eliot Spitzer has. But it's not talked about as much, you know, what was happening on that day and the significance of, well, it's hard to talk about as a sex and politics summit, but very ironic it took place on that day. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think he's going to have to step down, and I can't imagine that they're going to get a conclusion to this negotiation in short time. In some ways, the Daily News said this morning that he was holding the state hostage to this, and in some ways that's true. It's only been a few hours. It's been a couple of days. I mean, I think the negotiations probably started on Monday, but I don't see how the feds cut a deal at this point unless he pleads to something that they regard as reasonably serious. I mean, the way they are, he was clearly the target of this investigation. They're clearly I mean, in a position to probably flip several people around this case. You know, they've indicted 4 people from the agency, from the Emperor's Club. They could flip those people. I could see this case going on for a while before the feds will agree to some kind of a resolution of it.
Finally, Juhu, what will happen to, well, they talk about the woman Kristen, the woman that Eliot Spitzer was with, but what will happen to these women?
It really depends. I mean, often in these situations where the customer is arrested or the people who are running the ring are arrested, women who are working are put in positions where they're going to be asked to testify and really cooperate with law enforcement. So it depends on how much they need her. I mean, I think our concern is really making sure that in situations like these, if there are instances of violence, if there are instances of coercion, women and men who are involved in sex work know that they can come forward and feel safe and feel that the police are actually going to help them.
Well, I want to thank you both for being with us. Just in political terms also, by the way, this means that Hillary Clinton loses a superdelegate, right? You have Eliot Spitzer. David Patterson becomes the top superdelegate, and that's very significant for Hillary Clinton because he will be one of the only African-American governors in U.S. history, really rising to prominence. But it doesn't do very well for the Democrats overall, does it, Wayne?
No, it's a disaster for the Democrats in this state. And, you know, look, it's still a very Democratic state. It's possible that in November a Democratic Senate will get elected. Maybe David Patterson can make that happen. But the unusual thing about Eliot Spitzer was that he could raise the money that would convince really electable Democrats to leave the Assembly, as just happened in late February, and run for these seats. And it was a combination of the money that he could raise and the candidates that he could round up. And I don't know whether David's going to have the same magic.
We'll leave it there. I want to thank you, Wayne Barrett, senior editor at The Village Voice, and Juhu Thukral, director of the Sex Workers Project at the Urban Justice Center. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. When we come back, we look at the issue of torture. Stay with us. Thanks.